So we're looking at this piece comparing three big AI coding tools, Cody, Cursor, and GitHub Copilot. Seems like a deep dive.
Yeah, it's got potential, but, the main thing we spotted right off the bat was how the comparisons aren't always quite lined up, like using different yardsticks.
Okay, inconsistent metrics. Let's jump straight into that.
Sounds good.
Right. Let's start with enterprise security, data handling. Cody comes out really strong here, seems very clear-cut. Full data isolation, zero retention, no training on customer code.
Yeah, that's laid out plainly. The weakness, though, is how that really solid stance is compared, or maybe not compared apples to apples with the others.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the material kind of lets you compare things that aren't directly comparable. Cody's definite, zero retention, simple. But Copilot, its policy changes depending on the feature.
Oh, right, I saw that. It's zero retention for the IDE stuff, completions and chat in the IDE.
Correct.
But then if you use the chat on github.com itself, it's kept for 28 days?
Exactly. And that complexity, that nuance, it just highlights the problem when you put it next to Cody's simple 0 and Cursor's note about SOC2 without the same retention detail.
Got it. So the comparison feels a bit superficial there.
Precisely. So, the suggestion is you really need to restructure this bit. Maybe map out the data retention and the IP indemnity stuff explicitly for all three. Use like a common framework.
Like a table or something?
Yeah, a matrix could work perfectly. Have a row like data retention policy on prompts, and then columns for Cody, Copilot, Cursor. And critically, for Copilot, split out the IDE versus the web chat retention.
Okay.
And maybe add a row for IP indemnity, too. Does Cursor offer that on business plans like Copilot does? Get that level of detail for all of them.
Right. Enforce that strict apples-to-apples view on security and data. Okay, makes sense. So moving on from security, let's talk about features, specifically this term agent. It pops up for all three.
Yes, it does. And the argument, or maybe the finding here, is that while they all talk about agents, what that actually means functionally seems pretty different across the board.
How so?
Well, the weakness is that there isn't a shared definition or metric for what an agentic workflow really entails in this comparison. Copilot's agent gets described with very concrete, external actions it can take.
You mean like handling GitHub issues, running tests?
Exactly. Running tests via actions, delivering PRs, stuff happening outside the editor, automating external steps. But then you look at Cursor, and its agent talk seems focused more internally, with that autonomy slider controlling things within the code generation process.
Okay, wait. So is the issue that the term agent itself is just too broad here, used differently by the products? Or is it that the comparison itself didn't define it well?
Kind of both, really. But the comparison piece needs to bridge that gap. It needs to make the differences clear.
So what's the suggestion?
We think you should focus the comparison explicitly on the level of automation. Is it external automation, like Copilot seems to offer? Or is it more about internal workflow assistance, maybe like Cursor?
Okay. External versus internal focus.
Yeah, and to make that really hit home, you need concrete examples. Like walk through a scenario. Can you actually give a GitHub issue to Cody's agent or Cursor's and have it autonomously push a PR that's ready for review?
Testing it against that specific high-bar Copilot functionality.
Exactly. That provides a real functional benchmark.
That's a much sharper way to compare them. Okay, great. Let's pivot one more time to the technical side, specifically the LLMs they use. I did like that Cursor and Copilot get specific, mentioning GPT-4, Claude 3 Opus, Gemini.
Yeah, mentioning the specific models is good, but the risk there is that by focusing on the specifics for two of them, it really highlights the gap for the third one, right?
You mean Cody?
Exactly. The material for Cody is, well, it's quite vague. It just says things like the latest LLMs, or you can choose the latest LLMs.
Which doesn't mean much without names.
Right. For a technical user trying to evaluate these, the latest is almost meaningless. Which latest? From whom? It creates real uncertainty about Cody's actual power compared to the others listing specific, cutting-edge models.
Yeah, that's a pretty big blind spot if they can't name the engines.
It really is. So our suggestion here is twofold. First, try to push for the specifics. What are the underlying models Cody uses, especially for its enterprise offerings?
And if that info just isn't available?
Then maybe shift the focus slightly. Compare based on a feature that depends on that model flexibility. Like, Cursor mentions bringing your own model. That's a concrete feature. Does Cody offer that? Does Copilot?
Okay.
So concretely, make sure the comparison either lists the specific models for all three or clearly states which platform gives the user the most choice or flexibility, like maybe highlighting Cursor's access across OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, etc. Or perhaps clarify if Cody's model choice is intentionally limited to ensure those security guarantees it leads with. That could also be a valid point of comparison.
Got it. Make the LLM comparison concrete, one way or another. Okay, this has been really helpful. So, to recap the main points for refining this comparison piece.
Yeah. First, tighten up the security comparison. Use consistent metrics across all three platforms, especially on data retention, differentiating IDE versus web use.
Right. Second, define agent functionality more clearly. Focus on that external automation versus internal assistance distinction, using concrete workflow examples.
And finally, get specific on the LLMs. Either name the models Cody uses or compare based on model flexibility, like BYOM capabilities, or explain why specifics might be limited.
Perfect. These steps should really help make the comparison much more robust and genuinely useful. We definitely invite you to work on these points and feel free to submit the revised piece back to us.